You can't go shooting for shapes, for patterns and all this, but it's a sensuous pleasure, an intellectual pleasure at the same time to have everything in the right place. It's a recognition of an order which is in front of you.
So fast forward to 1954. He's now successful, a recognized photographer. He's lived through the war. He's captured by the German Wehrmacht. He escaped. Post-war, baby boomers are making babies. There's a real positive energy in the air. He finds himself in one of the oldest streets in Paris that dates back to Roman times, called Rue Mouffetard. It's in the working class area. In fact, the name is a variation of a word that refers to foul smells that came from the tanneries that used to be in this area. It's a narrow, busy, bustling street full of small stores. It's got markets. It's tightly packed old buildings of 3 to 4 stories high. I can just imagine the scene as it plays out when Henri captured this photograph. He's standing at the corner of one of the cross streets. He is the hunter. He's waiting to pounce. He's observing the fluid ebb and flow of humanity, waiting for a moment to crystallize. Suddenly he observes a small boy coming down the street. He's staggering under the weight of these 2 magnum-sized wine bottles. He's cradling one in each arm. The boy's a cocky little character, and he's obviously very proud of having been sent out on this grown-up errand. He has that innocent look of a little boy who's feeling like a big man on a big man's errand, who's intensely aware of his own body in the space in the street, and he's hoping to be noticed. And he has that strange mixture of pride and innocence that only children can have at that age. Ahead of him, a group of little girls are standing in the street. They've noticed him, and he knows they've noticed him, and the energy between them is suddenly palpable. The fluid energy of the street is about to become one of those decisive moments, a momentary instant where it solidifies into something concrete. Henri has noticed all of this, and he's ready to capture the unfolding moment. He instantly locates the edge of the building with the curving line of the street going into the background to create a dynamic sense of depth and movement in the frame. He's training in the golden section, ensuring that everything is perfectly balanced. Without his mind thinking about this is all happening intuitively within a second. He knows where the boy will be in a second. He focuses the camera on that spot. He frames the girls in a viewfinder so that they're out of focus and in the background. He knows the boy will pass the edge of the building in a moment with the emotion that's about to be unfolding still on his face. He will snap the shutter the moment the boy is aligned with the building edge. It will create this interesting line of tension in the photograph that will enhance and reveal the energy linking the boy to this specific place and moment. And as the boy passes the girls, they say something. The words are lost to everyone except the boy in the noise of the street. He visibly swells up. He's beaming. A smile breaks out on his face. The girls start giggling and turn away, as only the little girls can do. Henri snaps the shutter, and he captures the moment as the boy passes the girls. With his face gleaming, his chest swollen out, the energy of the humor and the pride and the innocence all mixed together that has passed between them, still palpable in the air, still linking them. Henri had his shot. The hunter got his prey, and it's exactly as he wanted it. But then he does something really amazing. He lets his camera drop from his eye, and he talks to the boy. The boy stops. They start to have a conversation, and that conversation leads to a friendship, and that friendship lasts a lifetime. Fast forward to more than 40 years later. The boy is now a man, and it's his birthday. He's turning 50. The front doorbell rings. He walks to the door and he opens it. And there stands Henri, now an old man, with 2 Magnum bottles cradled in his arms. Henri's capture of the boy reveals to me above all else his compassion for people. It also reveals to me a man who had honed his intuition to an incredibly finely tuned tool. He captured these photographs without even thinking. And he could capture it in an instant with a perfect composition, capturing the moment perfectly. And he could do it over and over and over again. In an interview with him in 1973, he made this comment. He said that everybody has 10 great photographs in them. But the difference between a guy who takes snapshots and a great photographer is the ability to do it consistently. And that's what he did. He did it consistently. So let's take a bit of a closer look at this photograph. And let's apply some compositional rules to it and see what it reveals about what Henri's intuition allowed him to do. Okay, so the first thing that struck me about this, he cut the boy's feet off. Second thing that struck me is that he aligned the corner of the building with his head. Now, it creates two things, and both of these actually, I should say, are kind of no-nos in the world of photography. You don't cut feet off or other limbs, and you don't have things growing out of kids' heads. Yet, in this photograph, it works. Two reasons. One is, same as Ansel, the fact that he cuts the boy's feet off creates a larger context. It creates a feeling of a fleeting moment which is passing you by and which is about to exit the frame. The column in the back, on the corner of the building, creates an interesting line of tension actually in the photograph, because it's almost like a symbolic expression of the boy's larger than life feeling, and it gives the boy almost a bigger presence, if anything. So it works. But now, look what happens when you put the rule of thirds on this photograph. Isn't that interesting? Each of the bottles are hitting the intersection of a rule of thirds. And to me, this is incredible. This guy took this photograph in an instant without any kind of real thought to it. This happened instantly. And look at it. There's also this interesting thing that I just noticed now, is that the diagonal line, this set of diagonal lines, actually goes from one set of thirds to the other set of thirds, just about. So you create this interesting diagonal line across the rule of thirds, which I think is quite interesting, creates an extra tension. But now let's look a little bit further to this. There's this line of perspective from the back. It cuts across the lady in the back, across the boy and out of the picture, and again from the second lady in the back across the children and out. There's also this line of tension between the three faces, and they cross on the boy's face. And then there is the diagonal line across, which again hits the boy's face. So what's fascinating to me about this whole thing is that he created all these interesting interrelationships and tensions between the different elements of the photograph without actually really giving thought to it. It just happened intuitively, and that's incredible. To me, this is a phenomenal photograph. And you can't get away from the fact that what really catches you in the photograph, though, is the little boy's face. I mean, look at that face. It just beams. It just draws you in. You cannot but look at it. Henri's photographs are about evoking something in the viewer. It's about an intuitive response to life, a response to the forms and shapes that's in front of him. It's about creating a tension with those forms in the photograph. Something that expresses and enhances the energy that he captures within the human interactions. And you'll see it in so many of his photographs. And this photograph is a very good example of that. This man had a phenomenal eye to see. And if we can start to see the way that Henri saw, we can only become better photographers. Thanks for listening. Join me again next month.
I see the trees through the forest and see a clearing up ahead, so distantly seeking, persistent, meandering, distantly seeking, so hopefully reaching to you.
I like English people very much. And it's the most exotic country for a Frenchman.